every offseason, there's always a player or two that fly under the radar. Who's that for the Oklahoma Sooners for 2024? Let's discuss coming up on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there that are subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, Google. Go check it out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Couple players flying under the radar for the Oklahoma Sooners in 2024. You know, we're always talking about the guys that are going to stand out, the ones that you expect to start, but who on offense and who on defense right now is flying under the radar a few months out from the 2024 season? Let's start on the defensive side of the ball, because I think this is a guy that maybe we're not talking about enough, and that's Caiden Woullard, the Miami of Ohio transfer that came over to the Sooners this offseason, a dude that had really, really good pass rush productivity at Miami and led the Redhawks with 9.5 sacks in 2023. You look at his defensive stats, according to Pro Football Focus, he was 9th in the nation in total pressures last year. He was one of the best edge rushers in the country. And the Oklahoma Sooners are going to have him as a part of their edge rotation. Now, I know we're all excited about what R. Mason Thomas brings to the table. We're excited about PJ Adebawore, and we know we're going to get good production out of Ethan Downs as a run defender and a pass rusher as well. But Caiden Woullard might be the guy that could be the missing link to the pass rush rotation, a guy that will hold up on run downs. He can play 3 downs for you, but also give you some juice off the edge when you need him to in pass rush situations. Listen, I love R. Mason Thomas and what he brings to the table. I love the potential of Adepoju Adebawore, but these guys have yet to break out for the Sooners. You've got a proven commodity with Caiden Woullard. Yes, it was at the group of 5 level, but still you have a really hard time finding guys with that kind of production that you can add to your defensive line and that much experience that you can add to your edge rotation. So you're going to see a lot of guys play. They want to be able to rotate guys in, keep them fresh. And Caiden Wouldard's one of those dudes that, okay, he might not be the flashy name. He might not be the high level prospect that everybody's expecting out of the recruiting ranks. No, but he's a dude that is going to bring something to the table, and he's going to make life really, really difficult for opposing offensive tackles. I'm really excited to see what Caiden Woullard brings to the table. Again, who knows if he's going to start or if he's going to be, a rotational edge, but he's going to be a part of that 2 deep. You're going to see him play a lot because, again, he's a veteran. He's played a lot of football, and he's going to be able to provide something on all 3 downs for the Oklahoma Sooners defense. And I think that's what you need. Yes, you love the talent that you have with R. Mason Thomas and with PJ Adebawore. You love what they've got and the potential that's there, but you need to see them start putting it together. You need to see R. Mason Thomas stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be an impactful player for the Oklahoma Sooners defense. PJ, it's just about development. It's about growth. If he's not quite ready, not quite where he needs to be to take on 300-400 snaps this year, well, you've got a guy like Caiden Woullard who's played a lot of football and could help you this year. I mean, we're looking at Woullard, and he's played, last year alone, he played 788 snaps for the Redhawks. That's a ton of experience, and that experience matters. And again, you're not overlooking the talent and the potential that you've got with these other guys, but over the last 2 years, he's played over 1,400 snaps. And so that's going to be an impactful part of your defensive end rotation, similar to like Trace Ford. But maybe PJ or maybe Caiden offers you a little bit more on a pass rush as a pass rusher. We'll find out. But at the very least, he's going to be a significant part of your 2 deep and your edge rotation throughout this season. I think he's going to be somebody that we look back on and like, man, we should have been a little bit more excited about that pickup in the transfer portal. But I think because, listen, again, the potential with R. Mason Thomas, with PJ, with guys like Danny Okoye and Wyatt Gilmore and Nigel Smith, that potential is fantastic. We just need to see it realized. And if it's not realized this year, well, at least you have a really, really good option in a guy like Caiden Woullard. On the offensive side of the ball, a dude that's flying under the radar that probably shouldn't be, and that's Jayden Gibson. And the reason he's flying under the radar is not really because Jayden Gibson's not talented. It's because the wide receiver position is so deep. You're bringing back guys like Angelo Anthony once he comes back from injury, Nick Anderson, who had a breakout year last year. You brought in Deion Burks. You added Jalil Farouk. You still have Brennan Thompson and Jaquays Petaway. You have a really, really nice group of freshman wide receivers in Ivan Carrion and Zion Kearney and Zion Raggins and KJ Daniels. So it's a really, really deep group of wide receivers. And yet Jayden Gibson still has the potential to be one of the most talented of all of them. You look what he was able to do in minimal snaps and minimal targets last year for the Oklahoma Sooners. Well, hey, on just, 21 targets for the Sooners, he had 14 receptions for 375 yards, 26.8 yards per reception. The only person on the team with more yards per reception than Jayden Gibson was Brennan Thompson, but Brennan only had 7 catches for 241 and 2 touchdowns. That's another guy that could be flying under the radar a little bit more, and we could probably be talking about him a little bit more. But Gibson led the team in passer rating when targeted at 149.3. Pro Football Focus likes to use the NFL passer rating to grade quarterbacks, wide receivers, what have you, defensive backs. So 149.3 is not far from perfect. A perfect passer rating in the NFL is 158.3. And Jayden Gibson had put together a great season last year. He caught 60% of his 66% of his contested catches and was absolutely dynamic down the field. Averaged the 26.8 yards per reception, but was nearly uncoverable when he got past 20 yards. And Oklahoma's going to need that more again this year. And we saw with a dude like, Jackson Arnold in the frame, when Jackson Arnold's willing to throw the ball deep, and he's willing to throw into contested situations. Whereas, Dillon Gabriel, he was a little bit more risk averse. Now that kept the interception totals down, which did benefit the Oklahoma Sooners. So I'm not going to sit here and just downplay Dillon Gabriel's approach to throwing the football, but Jackson Arnold, he's got a little bit more gunslinger in him, and he's got a little bit more trust. I don't even want to use the word trust, but he's willing to throw the ball up there, throw the ball out there, and let his guys go make a play. Sometimes that'll work out well for him, and sometimes that won't. But Jayden Gibson is one of those dudes that's going to benefit greatly from a guy like Jackson Arnold being under center because, hey, you want to throw a 50-50 ball to Jayden Gibson, and 2/3 of the time he's going to come down with it. He's that athletic. He's got that good of concentration. He's got those good hands, and he just shows the toughness to be able to make those plays. Reminds you of a CeeDee Lamb or a Dez Bryant, guys that can go up, get above the rim, go up there and make the play and leave a defensive back frustrated in his wake. So excited about what Jayden Gibson's going to be able to do. Now he's got to earn more snaps because, again, you got Deion Burks, Nick Anderson, Jalil Farouk, likely all sitting ahead of him on the depth chart. But until Angelo Anthony comes back, you're going to be relying upon Gibson to be your 4th wide receiver or your backup outside wide receiver for either Jalil Farouk or Nick Anderson. And we don't know Angelo Anthony's timeline. I mean, he was injured mid-season with an ACL. Generally, you're looking at about a year of recovery and rehab after surgery. Sometimes it can be 8 to 10 months. It just depends on the person and the situation. But you're going to need Jayden Gibson to be a playmaker for you through the first half of the season, let's say. And he had a really, really nice year last year. Again, limited role. He was kind of the 5th wide receiver until Anthony got hurt. Then he got thrusted into a bigger role as the 4th wide receiver. But I really think we'll see that production step up. We'll see his snap count step up, and he may not match the 5 touchdowns, but I do think he's going to have more receptions and maybe just a few more yards this year. He might see that yards per reception drop down to 15 to 18, which is still a great number. But I think we're going to see more receptions, more snaps, more playing time for a guy like Jayden Gibson. We'll keep an eye on him. Can't wait to see what these guys do in fall camp, both Caiden Woullard and Jayden Gibson, and to see exactly what their role is going to be in 2024. But really, really excited about what they bring to the table for the Sooners. Oklahoma made the cut for a couple 2025 prospects in the last couple of days. one from in-state, one from out of state. We're going to discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. The Oklahoma Sooners made hay in the last couple of days on the recruiting trail with one Darius Afalava and one CJ Nickson making the cut as they trim down their lists of potential suitors for the 2025 recruiting class. Let's first talk about Darius Afalava. He's a Utah offensive line prospect, the number 25 interior offensive line prospect according to Rivals, but a 4-star in their database. And then ESPN has him at number 19 in the nation. He's a player with 24 offers, with notable offers from Michigan, Tennessee, Texas A&M, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Stanford, Ole Miss, Nebraska, LSU. And then he cut his final 4 to Oklahoma, Utah, Michigan State, and the Washington Huskies. Well, the Sooners just recently hosted him for an official visit last weekend. And here's what Afalava had to say. Grateful for an amazing visit with at OU football. Appreciate all the love. Made my family and I feel like home. Boomer Sooner. So exciting news for the Oklahoma Sooners. This 2025 recruiting class along the offensive line is going to be critical for OU moving forward. It's very much what the defensive line recruiting class was going to be for 2024 and how impactful and how important it was. That's what Oklahoma needs to do in 2025. Right now, they've just got 2 offensive linemen committed to the class, Ryan Foje out of Texas, and then Owen Hollenbach out of North Texas. 2 very, very intriguing prospects. We've seen Foje really kind of climb up the recruiting rankings over the last few months. And then Hollenbach, I think a lot of people like what he's got the potential to do as an interior offensive lineman for the Sooners. Now, back to Afalava. This is a dude that, he's got great size already, 6'5", and according to On3, 280 pounds, but has the chance to add much more size to that as well. Anytime that you see a Bill Bedenbaugh offer, you see a Bill Bedenbaugh official visit, and then you see names, like Michigan State, Utah in particular. That Utah recruiting battle, I think, is the key one. Yes, you got to worry about Michigan State. Yeah, you got to worry about the Huskies. But if you can pull him out of the state of Utah, away from Kyle Whittingham, I think that is a big, big win for Oklahoma and for Bill Bedenbaugh. This guy's kind of tailor-made to play along the interior, and he's got the toughness, he's got the strength, he's got the athleticism to be a force in the middle. If Oklahoma can win this recruiting battle, I think it does give them a bit of a jolt for their offensive line recruiting, even as you're trying to figure out a way to lock down some of these 5-star prospects in the class. Afalava has a chance to be as impactful as a guard, maybe as some of these tackles will on the outside. He's just got that much talent. Another guy with a ton of talent, CJ Nickson out of Weatherford, Oklahoma, the number 1 player in the state of Oklahoma, according to 247 Sports. And then the number 9 edge rusher in the country. He's a top 75 prospect, again according to 247 Sports. And then On3's industry ranking has him as the number 3 athlete. CJ Nickson also offered to play basketball at Oklahoma. And this is a guy with great length, great athleticism, and someone that Oklahoma's kind of been firmly in the mix for a while now. And now it's down to Oklahoma and their Bedlam rivals, Oklahoma State, as his final 2 schools in his recruitment. We'll see where it all ends up, but predictions from On3, Rivals, and 247 Sports have favored the Sooners for some time. And if they can land him, again, another dude with great size at 6'5", he's got great athleticism as evidenced by what he's able to do on a basketball court, but the length is going to give offensive tackles fits. And he's got the length, the athleticism, the quickness, the agility to make a really, really good pass rusher. And that's the hope. Miguel Chavis gets his hands on him and is able to mold him into Oklahoma's next elite pass rusher. You need to find as much pass rush presence as you can. And if they can add CJ Nickson to this recruiting class, that would be absolutely huge. Now, it's another big recruiting weekend for the Sooners coming up. They're going to be hosting Michael Fasusi on an official visit. Ty Haywood, who is slated to come as well, is not making the trip, but you like where you're at in that recruiting battle. Now, it's going to come down to a lot of things, and you're going to be in the mix for Ty Haywood, Michael Fasusi, Lamont Rogers, Andrew Babaloa, like all four of these guys, Oklahoma's going to be battling for down the entire time. Now, they might have some guys they prioritize more than others, and coming to town this weekend, Michael Fasusi, that's one of those guys that Oklahoma's gonna prioritize. And if they can land him, it gives you a pure offensive tackle prospect, someone who's got NFL aspirations and NFL ability. It's just a matter of getting him on campus, getting him developed, and getting him into your program. But if you can add him and Afalava and Hollenbeck and Ryan Foje, that's a really, really nice offensive line recruiting class for Bill Bedenbaugh and the Oklahoma Sooners. But you got to land him. Got to figure out a way to get Fasusi and make that commitment happen. If not Fasusi, then Ty Haywood. But you got to find a way to land one of these elite 5-star offensive tackle prospects to go along with Foje, who could very well end up as a 5-star offensive tackle. It's big time camping weekends for the Sooners. They offered Jason Witten's son, Cooper Witten. That's a really intriguing prospect there. A guy that plays safety down for Liberty Christian School in North Texas. And then just a number of dudes in Norman. And we'll have to have maybe Parker Thune come back through at some point and break down some of these camp visits, because so many big names, and then a lot of guys who are getting opportunities and getting offers out of camp. Kevin Sperry camped with the Sooners, not right now, but this past weekend, along with several other Oklahoma commits, and looked as impressive as he always has. And that's an exciting and intriguing prospect. The fact that he continues to come to camp with Oklahoma, gets the opportunity to work with Seth Luttrell and other members of the Sooners offense, I think that's a really, really great head start for him as he looks ahead to joining the Sooners in 2025. Kevin Sperry is going to go compete at the Elite 11 competition, and I think he has as much of a chance to win it as anybody. He's got accuracy. He's got the deep arm strength. He's got good mobility. He's able to throw off platform. So he's going to have a chance to win it all as well, and potentially make it the second time in the last few years that an Oklahoma Sooners commit has won the Elite 11, dating back to Jackson Arnold. We'll see. But man, I was going through what Oklahoma's quarterback situation could look like over the next couple of years. And I mean, right now it looks really salty with Jackson Arnold and Casey Thompson and Michael Hawkins and Brendan Zerbrug. And then you look ahead to 2025 and you're talking about Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins and Brendan Zerbrug and Kevin Sperry. And then maybe 2026, okay, Jackson Arnold, maybe he's out the door to the NFL, but you're looking at Michael Hawkins and Brendan Zerbrug and Kevin Sperry and maybe a Jayden O'Neal, maybe a Darian Coleman. It's looking pretty good. I think any concern about Oklahoma's ability to recruit the quarterback's position, I think we're starting to put some of those things to bed, because what they've got right now, what they've got coming down the pipeline in the next few recruiting classes at quarterback is going to be pretty impressive. And you're going to be looking at one of the best quarterback classes, quarterback rooms in the country here in the next few years. Pretty exciting. Patty Gasso got that 4th straight national title, but perhaps her most important and maybe her biggest coaching job is coming up this offseason, as the Sooners have a lot to replace. We'll see how they do that, but let's talk about it coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners softball team wins 4 straight national titles. They have another fantastic season, win the Big 12 tournament title, led by a group of seniors, 10 of them to be exact, and several true freshmen, or a couple true freshmen that made big time contributions to Oklahoma's success this year. But the Sooners, they're going to have a lot to replace. Sooners of Illinois over on the OU Insider board broke it down. Here's what Oklahoma's roster looks like right now for next year. Sydney Sanders at first base, Nelly McEnroe-Marinas, who redshirted this year due to an injury. As an infielder, Ella Parker, utility player, Cassidy Pickering, utility player, Kirsten Deal, pitcher, Maya Bland, Peyton Monticelli, pitcher, and then Hannah Core at outfield. You lost a lot. Riley Boone's gone. Carly Keeney's gone. Kinsey Hansen's gone. Nicole May's gone. Tiara Jennings gone. Jada Coleman's gone. Kelly Maxwell, Riley Ludlam, Melissa Brito, Elena Torres, and then Quincy Lilio went into the portal. Avery Hodge went to the portal, and S.J. Guerin went into the portal. So there's a lot for Oklahoma to replace on the roster, but a lot in the starting lineup that Oklahoma will have to figure out. Now, they bring in 8 signees in the 2024 recruiting class, likely to get ready for all of the departures that Oklahoma was going to have after this season, but you don't know if all of those folks are going to be ready. So Oklahoma's got 5 spots to work with in the transfer portal. Patty Gasso on the franchise on Thursday afternoon mentioned that the Sooners have 4 portal players come in to visit. And you'd think that probably one of those is going to be a catcher of some sort to try to replace Kinsey Hansen and what she meant for Oklahoma's pitching staff. I'd imagine that a pitcher will be part of the portal visits. Yes, you like what you have in Kirsten Deal. Yeah, you like what you have in Peyton Monticelli and some of the true freshmen that are going to be joining the Sooners next year. But you probably want to have a little bit of veteran insurance. You probably want to find, if you can, your Alex Tarocco for next season. You probably want to try and find your Hope Troutwine, someone who can log a bunch of innings and take a little bit of the pressure off of your young pitchers. I say young, your junior pitchers. Kirsten Deal and Peyton Monticelli didn't throw a lot in the NCAA tournament and Women's College World Series. So you want to try, if you can, find somebody with some postseason experience, someone like a Carly Keeney that was going to be able to throw a lot of innings for you if necessary. Now, Keeney dealt with some injuries, so it wasn't necessarily like she was going to be able to come out and be a workhorse for you, but threw a good game in the clincher in game 2 of the Women's College World Series final. So finding something like that. Now, I like what you have in Sydney Sanders. If you feel really good about Cassidy Pickering manning either one of your outfield spots, or if they decide to move her to the infield, I think you like what you've got there. But is it Maya Bland that takes over it in center field for Jada Coleman? Hannah Core, is she going to be one of your everyday outfielders? We didn't get to see her hit a whole lot. That doesn't mean she can't do it. We just didn't get to see very many opportunities for her at the plate. Maya Bland, we know she can run really, really well. Again, not a player that we saw a ton of at-bats for this season. And so you might see Patty Gasso go find a veteran outfielder to help kind of bring Bland and bring Hannah Core along. You might see them look at a middle infielder. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see how Patty Gasso puts this all together, because there's a lot to replace. And there was always going to be a lot to replace, even without portal departures. Just eligibility was going to be that. And I'm sure she's been kind of looking towards this date with some sadness, maybe with some apprehension, because of all the leadership that she's losing, because of the talent that she's losing, and knew that this was going to be a big job for her and Jennifer Rocha and JT Gasso. And it's going to be the biggest maybe coaching job that Patty Gasso's had to do in the last few years. Now, she might disagree with that. She might, talk about the 2023 season and how she had to keep everybody focused amidst the streak talk. It might have been about this year, where she admitted on the franchise that there were some locker room issues. And, it it was a dynamic that they hadn't had to deal with in the past, but they had to deal with it this year, and they were able to work through it and come out still national champions. It's seeing, players go into the portal that maybe you didn't anticipate going in the portal. I don't think anybody expected Avery Hodge to leave for the transfer portal, but according to Patty Gasso, she wanted a starting position, and she doesn't guarantee anybody starting positions. We'll see. We'll see where that all lands, but this is going to be one of the most fascinating off seasons for OU softball in some time, because you don't have anybody beyond Cassidy Pickering and Ella Parker that honestly you feel like are ready to step in and play a significant role for you. Sydney Sanders is going to be your everyday first baseman. I know her average has dropped off. I know, the numbers aren't what they were at Arizona State, but we saw it down the stretch, how she could come through in a clutch. That 3-run double that she hit against Texas to put Oklahoma ahead for good, absolutely clutch. She had 2 homers in the Women's College World Series, one against Duke, one against Texas in game 1. So this is a player that, she's still got a lot of production coming down the line. She is someone who's going to perform. And even when she's not hitting for a great average, she's walking a ton, she's hitting with power, and she plays really, really good first base. She's a really, really good defensive player. So you feel really, really good about what you got in Sydney Sanders. You feel great about Ella Parker and Cassidy Pickering. So I think you've got some building blocks to work with, but now you've got to find out, okay, who's going to be starting for us in center field? Who's going to be our third outfielder? If Pickering is in left or right, and we're trying to figure out our other 2 outfield spots. Does Ella Parker, does she play a position, or is she still just your designated player? If that's the case, then you're still looking for a second base, third base, shortstop. You're looking for a catcher. You're looking for another frontline pitcher that can log a bunch of innings for you. So I know that some of the true freshmen that are coming in, they'll play significant roles for Oklahoma. They'll earn significant roles for the Sooners, but they're going to have to find some veterans that have produced at a high level to come in and take on a significant part of Oklahoma's lineup. I know nobody wants to think about the idea that Oklahoma may not be able to win the national title in 2025, but I guarantee you this coaching staff is not thinking that way. They're thinking about, okay, how can we put together the best team possible to try and go do it again? Because that's what it comes down to. That's what it boils down to is winning and losing. And yeah, there's, you want to take care of your players, and you want to, watch out for them and make sure that their mental health is good. You want everybody to have fun. Absolutely. But you want to also go and put your best foot forward and try and win as many games as possible. Because again, you've got 2 really, really good talents in Ella Parker and Cassidy Pickering, and you don't want to waste it on a retooling year or a rebuilding year. And that's probably going to be a dirty word out there to softball fans. And I guarantee that Patty Gasso is not going to be sitting out there using retooling or rebuilding as a catchphrase or a buzzword when she meets with the media this offseason. But it's going to be fascinating to see how they pull it all together. But in Patty Gasso, we trust. JT, Jennifer Rocha, we know they're going to put it all together for the Oklahoma Sooners to put together a really, really good team that's going to go contend in the SEC and then get back to the Women's College World Series. And then at that point, you just go win. You just go win softball games. But you're going to need several players from this year's roster to also step up and take significant roles. Like Kirsten Deal, Peyton Monticelli, they're going to have to be much better this year. Kirsten Deal was really good at times down the stretch, had some missteps where she wasn't as good. Peyton Monticelli, you're going to need to rely upon her as a third or fourth arm in your pitching rotation. You need someone like Hannah Core or Maya Bland to really step up and become significant contributors in the offense, not just pinch runners here, defensive replacements here, but they got to find a way to become everyday members of the lineup. It's going to be a fascinating few weeks as the Oklahoma Sooners dip into the transfer portal once again to try and fill out this roster for the 2025 college softball season. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that notification bell and hit that like button. Shout out again to all the everydayers joining us here every single day on Locked On Sooners. But until next time, I'm John Williams, Boomer Sooner.